GTA Online provides many ways to become rich, if you don't mind getting your hands dirty. Norm is a coward and too scared to commit any crimes. After being kicked out by his wife, Norm had to pay $1 million in child support, which he earned by using some of the legit, crime-free strategies GTA Online provides. This mission, despite a few hiccups, was a success. But now, Norm was faced with a very important question. Just how far can he actually take this challenge? The rules are simple. Norm cannot use any crime to earn money. All money-making pursuits must be within the confines of the law. It must also be plausible within the world of GTA. For example, with an adversary mode like Sumo, how is this platform floating in the sky? How did these cars even get here? This is not realistic and not allowed within the challenge. Check out part 1 if you haven't, link in the description. But without further ado, let's meet where we last left Norm. Norm had finally won. After many failed attempts at gambling to win his fortune, he had won. Big time. Some might have said it was a risk to gamble the $1 million he had painstakingly earned previously, but who's laughing now? Gambling was scientifically proven to earn you profit at some point, eventually, and so Norm's path forward was clear. He would never stop. He would be gambling for the rest of his life. Norm was promptly kicked out and banned from the casino for winning too much. Too lucky, they said. Maybe there was something to be said about winning once and only just now kicking him out. Norm was too distracted for social commentary, however. Norm needed to piss. Surely there was a way to get back inside, right? I mean, Norm did have his children, but he definitely had to say that the casino was the biggest love in his life. They'd never let him back in after such an epic victory. Not as a normal customer, at least. Of course, the VIP penthouse suite. If he lived inside the casino, they could legally never kick him out. And so, the new goal was clear. Earn enough money to buy the VIP penthouse, which was $6.5 million, and begin gambling once again. The plan was simple and revolved around multiple legitimate business ventures littered across the city. Most businesses in GTA Online revolve around you getting your hands dirty, committing crimes like stealing, murder, and sometimes driving some very slow vans. Norm obviously couldn't do any of those, but there were a few businesses that allowed for legitimate, crime-free gameplay. 8, in fact, and Norm was gonna buy them all. These businesses consist of the nightclub, the CEO office, the motorcycle club, the salvage yard, the auto shop, the arcade, Lester's clothing warehouse, and the agency. Norm had previously used pizza and taxi jobs to earn his $1 million, but for what Norm had in mind, that would be far too slow. The idea was to purchase one business and let that act as a blast furnace to fuel buying other businesses. But with that being said, which one was the best one to start with? Well, opinions can differ on this, but for Norm, there was obviously one very easy choice to make. Admittedly, there was a little bit of spending change left over after purchasing the nightclub. Norm wanted to treat himself, and why not? He deserved it for all of his hard work. They say a man is reflected in his choice of car, and I think for Norm, that couldn't be more accurate. Norm entered his nightclub and was met with 2 annoying, yapping squatters. He was told that the nightclub would be opening very soon, and that Norm had a lot of important work to get the club up and running. The nightclub creates a profit of $50,000 every 48 minutes, which is 1 in-game day. But that's only when the nightclub is at full popularity. If we were to lose all of our popularity, we are left with earning just $5,000 per day. Very suboptimal. It'll be imperative that Norm keeps his nightclub popular with consistent regular promotion. It would be very bad if Norm didn't do this. Very bad indeed. But this ties us nicely into Norm's next goal. The nightclub comes in 2 parts. The passive money safe, and the hidden cargo storage basement, where you can manage the other illegal businesses in the game. Norm, of course, will not be utilising this aspect. Not quite, anyway. There is one business he can use from the many the nightclub can operate, that being the special cargo warehouse business. The special cargo warehouse does supposedly consist of buying and selling illegal goods. However, with the nightclub specifically, it doesn't actually explicitly say what we're buying and selling, leaving the contents of these goods open to the user's interpretation. In this instance, of course, Norm likes to believe he is selling extra delicious chocolate chip cookies for the local dog shelter. In order to get the nightclub warehouse up and running, you need a CEO office. And the CEO office is one of the legit businesses Norm needs to buy. But even with 50,000 every 48 minutes, 1 million plus an extra 250k for the CEO warehouse is a lot of money. Norm didn't want to just sit there lazily waiting around for a safe to fill up. He needed to be proactive. Regretfully, Norm got on his Fat Joe, put on his helmet, and started delivering pizzas. We've already seen a lot of this in part 1, so we'll run through it pretty quick. With the pizza delivery, you can earn around 20,000 in 10 minutes, or less. 3 pizza delivery spots for 60,000 in 30 minutes, with a 48-minute cooldown, and you could earn some decent reliable money, albeit a bit slowly. The best part about this, however, which is something we'll actually see as a running theme throughout the challenge, is that whilst doing this work, the nightclub was still passively earning that 50,000 every day. So, in the midst of delivering pizzas back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back, Norm could actually earn an extra 50,000 on top of the 60,000 he was earning from the pizzas. And with the purchase of every new business, that passive income amount would only go up. Eventually, Norm had earned enough for the CEO office and the warehouse both, which, importantly, ticks off another target off our list. Very good work, Norm. 2 down, 5 to go. Norm got to work setting up his warehouse. For each business within the nightclub system, you will earn a singular new revenue stream. Naturally, the more businesses you have set up, the more you earn overall. But there was just one small problem. If you only have one revenue stream unlocked, the money you earn will be actually quite trash. The special cargo warehouse within the nightclub can hold a maximum of $100,000 worth of goods. And for Norm to reach that capacity and earn that 100,000, it would take him 58 real-world hours. And that's if it's been upgraded, which it wasn't. As stated before, the nightclub really benefits from having the other businesses set up too. But Norm can't do that. Very sad indeed. Nevertheless, whether now or later, it was something he would have had to buy to complete the challenge. Norm decided to treat this as an expensive but wasteful lesson and just move on with his Sigma male grind set. Now, he couldn't bring himself to do any more pizza jobs. God no, please no, I really cannot be bothered. This is, can you become rich as a normal person? Not, can you become rich as an Uber Eats delivery driver? Norm did have a source of passive income in his nightclub, which despite it all, fetched a fairly decent profit. Maybe Norm could earn money for doing nothing. But this would be boring content, filler if you will. So to fix this, like any long-running series, we of course need a beach episode. Ah, the beach. The sand in between his toes, the sea air filling his lungs, and the sun tanning his pasty white skin. There were many activities Norm could potentially partake in. Sadly for Norm, 2 tryhards were fighting on the beach doing a 1v1. They turned their attention away from one another and onto poor little Norm instead. Fearing for his life, he had to run away from the area to prevent getting shot and killed on the spot. Even the beach, polluted by sweat, ruined by stink. Maybe, actually, Norm was beginning to feel a little homesick. He thought of his children. He had been in Los Santos for a while now, and he missed them very much. He even thought he missed his ex-wife, Karen, for a moment. However, he remembered how she had cheated on him with the local golf instructor, humiliating him forevermore. I mean, yeah, Norm wasn't that bad at golf. He drank a lot. He gambled all of his money away. Yeah, maybe those were kinda deal-breaking issues for a marriage. Norm was never gonna fix those other problems, but he dreamed of getting better at golf and proving his wife wrong. He just had to one day win at least one game. That'd show her. Never mind that though. He couldn't worry. Norm had to get back to work. Norm dragged himself back to his office and got to thinking his next steps over. He had already bought 2 of the 7 businesses, yet he didn't have much to show for it. He did have his nightclub, which could generate a small steady passive income, but was that all life was going to be from now on? Waiting for a safe to fill up? You know what? Going AFK once wasn't going to kill him. He'll go to sleep, leave his PlayStation on overnight, and let the safe fill up fully a few times and buy the next business. So, Norm got his little head down on his pillow and drifted off to sleep, waiting, just waiting for the money to roll in. Norm awoke. How long had he been asleep? He wasn't quite sure. Money, and a lot of it, definitely enough to buy what he needed. But how long had he been asleep? Norm checked his phone. He had been asleep for 3 days? Did AFKing really lead to that much time passing? What if he had slept for even longer? Norm pushed the thought aside. He may as well make the most of the money he had earned. And so, he got onto Maze Bank foreclosure and bought the MC Clubhouse. The only legit MC business is the bike workshop, where customers bring in motorcycles for you to customise and upgrade, and then deliver it back to them. Of course, the Thanos bike. Norm gets to work customising this purple monstrosity to the specifications requested from the customer. Needless to say, this customer's taste was absolutely horrendous. But money was money. And so, Norm headed out and delivered the bike to the customer with no problems, and got 60,000 for his efforts. Bikes will arrive at the clubhouse for customization and delivery between 30 minutes and just over an hour. It's a little random, but overall, it's a very decent business all around. But now, this is where the magic comes in. Norm had now technically doubled his profits. The bike service and the nightclub, earning both 60 and 50k respectively, build profit at the exact same time. So, with every new business, mostly, it will continue to ramp up profits and make the next business that much easier to acquire. This is what it was to become a businessman. But we're at the exact same crossroads as before. All Norm needed to do now was wait for the money to roll in. This was beginning to grow rather repetitive. Nevertheless, he had to do something to kill the time. So he went down to the golf course with the intent to prove to the world, and more importantly, he had to prove himself against his ex-wife's lover. He did not know the man. Not really. He had only ever once caught a glimpse. But he knew that he happened to play golf regularly at the Golfing Society Club in Los Santos. It was a long, arduous game, yet, in the end, naturally, Norm won. Norm went and checked on his businesses. Not even close to having enough to buy the next property, of which Norm still needed to decide. Norm wanted to buy a property that would give him something proactive to do, yet every option relied on some form of AFK. But upon inspection, the best option was definitely going to be the salvage yard. First, it forced you to go out and seek vehicles to tow with your tow truck and bring it back to the yard for scrapping. This gave something Norm to do, and it could allow for the other cooldowns to clock down whilst he was towing vehicles. And more importantly, the safe. Just like the nightclub, the salvage yard also has an AFK safe where money builds up passively over time. But, unlike the nightclub, this safe has a capacity of 250,000. And the daily income increases with every salvage job you perform. And on top of that, you're still getting the money from every car you salvage. This will be the best investment thus far, and will make earning the rest of the properties an absolute cakewalk. Only, Norm needed to go AFK to earn it. It was risky. I mean, he could have his entire life drift away if he AFKs for too long. But there was no other way. And so, not wanting to necessarily, he got his head down and drifted off to sleep. Norm awoke in a sweat. It had been definitely longer than the first time, for sure. But how long exactly? Norm checked his phone. 6 months! 6 months had passed by in the blink of an eye. He had surely missed their birthday by now. Norm's heart cracked a little. For all Norm's faults, the gambling, at least, was always to provide for his family. The AFK session had paid off, at least, and he could afford the salvage yard. And so, yet another property bought. 4 down, 3 to go. He decided it was time for an upgrade in drip. Yes, there were more substantial things to buy. Did it matter? No. Norm felt partial to the noob trap rich person quote that every level 36 wears to prove their wealth after watching one professional tutorial. Also, he needed a new ride. The ship bucket served its purpose, it's true, but for such an esteemed golf pro, he couldn't be seen alive or dead inside of it. There were many vehicles to pick from. However, Norm settled on the yellow Bumblebee car from Transformers, the only movie Norm has ever seen or could even begin to understand. Norm got straight to work, wasting no time. He had already done enough of that. Now, these tow truck jobs were easy. It was just driving back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back. The hard part was the fact that these cars' locations could be an entire odyssey away from the salvage yard. Just getting to these rancid cars could have been 17 one-piece arcs in length. Norm could have had 40 seasons of character growth, driving back and forth and back and forth and back if the car was over like 2 or 3 miles. I eventually just resorted to joining a new lobby, then starting the tow truck mission again. The good news, however, is that a little cycle was beginning to form. Norm could tow 2 cars, but during this, a motorcycle will have spawned at the MC clubhouse. Whilst waiting for the cars to be broken down for cash, Norm could customize and sell the bike. There is a little gap here where Norm does need to wait, but eventually, the cars will be broken down and the money will be earned, opening up the tow truck activity, beginning the cycle all over again. What's best is that the nightclub and salvage yard safes were still ticking in the background, earning money passively. For reference, the next target was the auto shop. This business is essentially what the MC business is but for cars. Customers will deliver up to 2 cars at a time, then you'll customize it and sell it. The payout will depend on the quality of the car, ranging from 20 to 25 to 30,000 in profit after customization. This business will slot into the periods of downtime where Norm had nothing to do, which would result in Norm AFKing less. The only problem was that he had to earn enough money to buy it. Until he buys this auto shop, that gap where he has to AFK will always exist. I will be honest, grinding is boring. Very boring. A lot of the legitimate businesses, especially, just revolve around a lot of waiting and tedious busy work. Going into this challenge, I wasn't quite aware how much AFKing and waiting around I'd have to do. Naturally, Norm was left alone for a large portion of this challenge, like a neglected little goldfish, forced to travel around and round in a circle, waiting for his owner to finally give him attention. I tried avoiding it where I could, but inevitably, it always felt like the best option, lest I don't know, carry on doing pizza jobs for every waking hour of my life. Eventually, I did earn enough to buy the auto shop, but with its purchase, the grinding loop I was using was actually complete. For the remaining businesses, that being the arcade, Lester's garment factory, and the agency, they were actually quite trash and slow. The arcade revolves around accruing money in a safe similar to the nightclub, where you earn 5,000 per day for a maximum capacity of 50,000, which is a far cry from the 50,000 you earn every day with the nightclub. Where Lester's clothing warehouse is concerned, it's very similar. There's a safe and it passively fills. 2,000 per day for a maximum of 100,000. Now, with the agency, I kinda forgot it existed until I had already bought all of the other properties. It completely skipped my mind, but the agency has mostly illegal activity, but there is one small legitimate method to earn money within it, so it does count, but I didn't use it. Oh well. As you can see, none of these properties are actually particularly notable for the actual gameplay of this challenge, since my grinding loop was focused around other properties. Not very exciting, but they were on the list regardless, and Norm needed to buy all 3. But he just had to earn enough money. Not to forget where we began. Norm had longed for the casino for this entire challenge, but never this much until now. Is this what all grinders felt? What a miserable life. Gambling was so much better than this. Maybe one AFK session couldn't hurt. No? What was he thinking? He refused to AFK. He couldn't risk missing out on any more of his children's lives. Not a single day more. Norm needed to take a break, to reset his mental state. And where else but the golf course? Wait, who was that? It was him, the man who had stolen Norm's wife. And what's this? His wife was with him? Oh, no. The game was on. He had to win this. For pride, for honor, for the respect he oh so deserved. Norm didn't care anymore. But even now, in this dark hour, doubt lingered over him. Norm had a choice ahead of him, a tough choice. Do the right thing, the correct thing, or go AFK, potentially missing his children's entire life. The risk. The risk. Well, I mean, when you think about it, isn't risking something just a type of gamble? Oh no, here we go again. Norm awoke. What time was it? What year was it? Norm's phone had no charge. His bones ached. His head hurt. His vision blurry. He stumbled outside. Los Santos looked the exact same to the one he knew. Norm let out a sigh of relief. It couldn't have been long then. He went back inside and checked his safe. Finally. He had enough money to purchase every property and enough left over to purchase the penthouse. The challenge was complete. Norm felt a little silly. He was worrying for absolutely nothing. The AFK strat had worked flawlessly without none of those pesky little consequences. Norm had cheated time itself. He had completed the challenge, AFKing it despite the risk, with an endless source of cash and a new life, a better life, promised to his children. It was finally over. But wait, no! There was something niggling at the back of Norm's brain. What had he forgotten? What was he missing? This couldn't be too good to be true, right? I mean, this city hadn't changed an inch. It mustn't have been that long. And then, like a lightning bolt striking him, he realised. GTA Online was developed by Rockstar Games. They are lazy. They never update the map. Oh god no, it could have been years. There was only one place he could go. Only one task on Norm's mind. You know what? Going AFK once wasn't gonna kill him. When you think about it, isn't risking something just a type of gamble? Gamble? No? What was he thinking? He refused to AFK. He couldn't risk missing out on any more of his children's lives. Not a single day more. Day more. Norm got out and ran to his door and knocked. No answer. He knocked again. Nothing. He couldn't believe it. He stumbled back and there it was. A for sale sign. Nobody lived here. Nobody had lived here for a long, long time. Norm ran back to his car. He had charged his phone on the way here to check how much time he had wasted. He had AFK'd for 15 years. It was all his fault. All the gambling amounted to nothing. Money, yeah, but not at this cost. It was never worth this. Norm wasn't sure what to do. If there was anything he could do, his life was over. But if there's one thing he had learned on this cursed, calamitous journey, he had made many mistakes. He knew that. But the one thing he didn't do, the one thing he had learned, was to never ever give up. Despite it all, the one thing Norm could benefit from is that he is now one of the wealthiest people in Los Santos. He has access to every legitimate property, which could print money for free. And he had completed his challenge, all while being a totally normal person. The money itself meant nothing to Norm, but it was investment capital. It was his chance to set things right. But Norm hadn't bought every property just yet. There was still one very important one he hadn't, and you all know what it is. It cost $6.5 million, and it was just sitting there waiting for him to buy. And so, Norm made the purchase. Maybe it was a new sense of perspective. Maybe it was regret. Maybe, potentially, it even could have been character growth. But Norm realised his priorities had been wrong this entire time. In trying to grind endlessly and incessantly above all else, he had wasted the most important years of his life. In pursuit of success whilst trying to be normal, Norm had realised, finally, that no, maybe he wasn't normal. He was alright with that though. A normal person could never have overcame what he had. He wasn't normal. Maybe he was special. He wouldn't know the answer to that though, not for a while at least, for he had a new goal in mind, one greater than anything that had come before. He had to set things right, and he had to find his children.